There's mounting anger and frustration among the Israelis following the announcement of the death of 6 hostages in Gaza. Massive protests erupted across the country after the bodies were recovered from a tunnel in the city of Rafah. Crowds of about 500,000 strong demonstrated in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv and other cities, demanding Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to do more to bring home the remaining estimated 101 hostages. Police clashed with protesters during a massive rally in Tel Aviv by tens of thousands of Israelis standing in solidarity with the families of the hostages. They blocked traffic on the Ayalon highway. Horse-mounted police have been called in to clear the crowd. In Jerusalem, protesters surrounded the Prime Minister's residence.
ראש הממשלה, יושב ראש ההסתדרות הישראלית, לא עוד!
The bodies of the hostages have been returned to Israel. An Israeli Health Ministry spokesperson, citing forensic reports, said they were murdered by Hamas terrorists in a number of shots at a close range, 48 to 72 hours before their bodies were recovered.
There are still 101 hostages being held. 6 were alive last week, from what I understand, at least up until 48 hours before they were executed in captivity. So I hold everyone accountable, him, along with every stakeholder in the negotiation process.
Today, I urge my government and all the states of the world to make a deal, make it possible, make it happen. It's too late for us, it's too late for Carmel. I will never hug her again. But 101 people can still hug their families. For them, make the deal, save lives.
Netanyahu has made it clear Israel would not rest until it catches all those responsible.
In recent days, as Israel has been holding intensive negotiations with the mediator in a supreme effort to reach a deal, Hamas is continuing to steadfastly refuse all the proposals. Even worse, at the exact same time it murdered 6 of our hostages. Whoever murders hostages does not want a deal.
This after reports quoted a senior Hamas official as saying that Israel, in its refusal to sign a ceasefire agreement, was to be blamed for the deaths. Hamas's Sami Abu Zuhri said the Israelis should choose between Netanyahu and the deal. Meanwhile, to build pressure on Netanyahu, the head of Israel's biggest labor union has called for a general strike. The one-day general strike called by Arnon Bar David, the head of the Historist union, is being backed by Israel's main manufacturers and entrepreneurs in the high-tech sector. Now, correspondent Jody Cohen tells us more about the general strike that's been called by the labor union to push for a hostage deal. Listen to this.
So I'm at one of the 15 protests that have been planned for across the country on Monday. You can see behind me protesters are blocking the streets and the police are trying to clear them now. There's also a general strike on Monday. Schools are only partially open. The majority of bus companies and banks, although you can see some buses here trying to get through on the streets, but they have said that they're striking along with many high-tech companies. Ben Gurion Airport is partly striking and hospitals are working at weekend capacity. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu was under pressure to agree to Hamas's demands and get at least the women, children, the sick and the elderly hostages back. But there's not uniform agreement on this. For example, 8 local authorities are joining in the strike. 7 councils are partly striking, reportedly as a symbolic gesture, and at least 14 councils are refusing to participate in the strike. That's because many believe that if Israel agrees to Hamas's demands, the next day Hamas would start planning the next massacre and kidnapping of Israelis, and they believe you can't do business with terrorists. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu has reportedly apologized to the families of the murdered hostages for failing to agree a deal in time to save them. He said that his government would continue trying to reach a deal, but believes that those who murder hostages are not interested in finalizing a deal.
Jody also talks about the chances of Israel and Hamas striking a hostage for ceasefire deal now. Listen to this.
So Israel's new UN ambassador Danny Danon has called for an urgent meeting of the UN Security Council to discuss the hostages. He said that the council has yet to condemn Hamas for taking the hostages and that they need to act decisively. He reiterated that Israel has accepted the proposals developed by the US, Egypt and Qatar, and that Hamas is continuing to refuse them. Now, President Biden and Vice President Harris are set to meet with negotiators on Monday, reportedly to discuss a take-it-or-leave-it final proposal. Now, a US official has said that Hamas's execution of the 6 hostages casts doubt on Hamas's seriousness about a deal. 3 of those hostages were believed to have been due to be released as part of a deal, and the officials said that negotiators would now have to painstakingly renegotiate which hostages would be released and to renegotiate the details of a deal. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Netanyahu has called for a strong reaction to Hamas's execution of the 6 hostages. He said to prevent more murders of hostages.
For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.